Yeah, so hi everyone, and welcome to Android254 and Kotlin Kenya meetup. So today we have an amazing lineup of speakers and a different set of session, which is kind of different from what we've been doing, as you'll see later on, and as we've also been mentioning on the socials, Telegram, and on our meetup page. So before I forget, I usually forget. So I'm the kind of host today, but we'll also have other hosts for the session. So I'm Harun Wangereka. I'm an Android developer and also part of the organizing team for the meetups. Yeah, so I'll begin with a short intro, which should not take time. Yeah, so as I usually mention, we had lots of plans for this year. One of them was to resume our monthly meetups, which have been happening every third Saturday. So we've been recording them, and that is our channel there. I'll share it at the end of this on the link so that maybe if you want to catch up on a particular session that you missed, you can feel free to catch up. Also, we had plans for hackathons and also something we call quarterly in-depth session. So these are something that we are planning for that need a bit of planning. So we've not been able to yet start them, but it's something that we are planning to do so. Probably next year or probably early next month, but we'll keep you in the loop. So one of the focus was having quality sessions and also making sure that as developers, both Kotlin and Android, we produce quality apps, libraries, and also tools, and also make sure that we supercharge, as evident from that image, we supercharge our skills, both in terms of soft skills and also the required technical skills. And yeah, as we come to maybe a close of the year, we still also planning for next year. So it will be also in hand if you also share, if you have something that you'll need to, for us to do next year or something that you feel we should improve in our meetups, please feel free to reach out to us and also give us feedback as we plan for next year. So, and as I always mention, we have Wachira and Nduati and also Perez who gave their first sessions on Android254. So as I plan for the speakers and we plan for the speakers next year, so please don't be afraid. If you've never given a session, we don't discriminate. We usually accept sessions depending on what you've done. Actually, this year we've not rejected any session, so don't be afraid to apply. We've had people speak at their first time, and yeah, we don't discriminate. And then we have a collaboration with the Android series, both Android254 and Kotlin Kenya. They have a session later today. I'll be the one handling the session about deploying apps to Play Store. So you can join the session later on today. It's like a series for those who've maybe started out on Android. We've had a couple of series, and so you can join there and also get to learn more about Android and maybe some of the topics that you've had problem with. So that is the link. I'll also share the link on the chat. And yes, so for today, we have openBar. So maybe for those it's their first time hearing about openBar. openBar was started last year, just when the pandemic started. It was just an initiative to keep us engaged, both Android254 and Kotlin Kenya, where it was on chat, but we decided to just have something different this time, where we have the speakers on Zoom, and then we have the questions. We had the form which we sent earlier on. So we have a number of questions, and also probably we'll also take a few of them inside this call, and they'll also help answer them. I'll not maybe introduce them. We have a session where each of the speakers get to introduce themselves. And yeah, we have also the host who are Frank and Kendi, who will also introduce themselves. So lastly, we have the end year meetup. So this is maybe just to wrap up our meetups, which will be in December. So I'll also share the details. And yeah, it will not be probably technical. It will just be like an overview, what we've done this year and what to look forward in the coming year. And yes, lastly, in case you have any feedback, anything you want to suggest to us, you can always reach out to me, Frank, or Kendi. And I'll stop at that and invite Frank to take over the rest of the session. Frankie, if you can hear me.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. So, hi guys. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another meetup. We have a very interesting meetup this time, I think so. And it's going to be, it has a huge bunch of people to speak. So I don't know whether to call it, it's like meetup with so many speakers. So let me give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And yeah, so I don't know how we'll go around this. Do we go ladies first? Let's go ladies first. Alphabetical ladies first. Alphabetically speaking, ladies first. I will not call any of their names so that they just like introduce themselves. This is usually the fun part where someone starts to speak and then they excuse each other. I love it when it happens during Zoom calls and online calls. So let's give them the first challenge. So that is the first challenge. So go ahead, please.
Well,
ladies first by alphabetical order.
I guess that's me first. Well, yeah. I'm Adhiambo, but most people call me Perez. I'm currently an Android software engineer with my shamates. I develop apps in Kotlin generally, although from time to time I get to work with Java. And I do use lots of coroutines and RX in my day-to-day work. Actually, I'm a huge proponent of dependency injection and other things like automated deployments. Actually, I think that's one of the things I'm passionate about, because manual deployments are, well, when you're in an environment where you have to do frequent releases, you do want to automate them. So outside work, my hobbies generally include reading, binge watching series, and traveling every now and then. Yeah, also an animal lover, so I do keep pets as well.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. I should be the next person. So my name is Beatrice Kinya. I'm a software engineer at Pula. I mean, Android apps. Yeah, that is basically Android Kotlin. Yeah, I did a bit of Java at the beginning of last year. Okay, yes. Last year, part of this year, I did a bit of Flutter. Yes, that meant I learned Flutter. I know I did say Flutter. It's been a while since I wrote Flutter. Yeah, so anything else about me? For me, well, everything about Queen, but for me, mostly it's the architecture. When, yeah, like if we have a good architecture, we can plug in all these other things, the independence injection, okay, I don't know, yeah, depending. There's a word that I'm missing in my mind, but yes, that would help us create a better architectures for apps. Then my hobbies, guys, I like crochet stuff. The heart I made it for myself. Yeah, then I love reading books. Yeah, and just going out for hikes or just nature walks and all that. So yeah, that is me. Next person.
I'm guessing that's me. Why is okay? My name is Michael Bukacci. I am a software engineer at OpenCraft and a couple of other companies. Android work, yeah, I do quite a bit of Android work. Definitely in Kotlin. Sometimes I work on legacy apps, but mostly it's in Kotlin. My favorite thing about Android, probably it's testing. That, yeah, it definitely has to be testing. Hobbies. I have quite a bit of hobbies. I would say playing video games. That's definitely top on the list. Watching anime, reading manhwa, and just talking and having discussions about the Marvel or DC universe or just any sci-fi universe. It's also one of the things I love to do. Yeah. Who's next? It should be Oliver.
Okay, my name is Oliver Muthomi. I'm a DevOps engineer at Safaricom. I just hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I'm a polyglot developer, which means I do multiple languages, including Android. Within Android, I'm more passionate about architecture because it lays a foundation for everything else. I'm also keen on performance. On my day job, I do a lot of Spring Boot applications. I'm the kind of person that does Spring Boot in Kotlin when everyone else is doing it in Java. So there's that. I'm passionate about performance. I'm looking into GraalVM, native compilation and such. Within Android, I'm also venturing into Kotlin multi-platform. I find it thrilling and I'm ready to see full potential for that. In my regular life, I have a dog. I like motorsports and I like cooking. I spend a lot of time watching Red Bull for motorsport. So yeah, basically that's me. Thank you.
I guess I'm next. Okay, so my name is Ronnie Otieno. I'm a software engineer for Android at a modular solution. It's based in Netherlands, but my office in Czech Republic. Yeah, both Android. Okay, before that, I use both Kotlin and Java. Right now, I'm using Java. Yeah, my favorite thing about Android, I think, just everyone else architecture, and also right now I'm working on devices, like what we're doing, like the device is running Android. So we are working with that IoT device. It's something which I kind of get on, like on July. So not that much. It's a bit thing to do. Like if you are doing Android, you should check out devices. And also, yeah, and my hobby is cooking. Yeah, I like cooking and just watching random videos on anywhere. Yeah.
Don't know if we are done.
I think I'm last.
Okay.
Okay. So my name is Wachira Nduati. I work for a small company in Madrid called Aso.app, and we build very tiny apps. I get to work on legacy apps and also build new apps. So specifically working with Kotlin and occasionally working with Java. I'd rather not work with Java. The most interesting part I find in Android is working on maps. Anything that has a map SDK is great to me. Other than that, for fun, you can find me that biking in the forest around here. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And I guess maybe I'll have to go last, right? So my name is Tamre. I'll be your co-host. My co-host might or might not show up because of some. She might have some other engagements, but her name is Jacky Kendi, so she might join us.
I'm
or
here.
not. Oh, she's here! Yay! She's here. She's here. Can you? People want to see you, so you have to introduce yourself first. There.
Hi guys.
Okay. Hi.
Hey Ronnie, I
You
just
always have to make an appearance. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I just discovered this cool filter. I like it. it's, I think, incognito. Anyway, my name is Kendi. I'm a co-organizer for Flutter Kenya and Android254. Besides that, I'm a software engineer at Bridge. Yeah, and I'm really honored to be here with you guys and looking forward to having fun. As you can see, I'm in the mood.
Okay, cool. So my name is Frank Tamre, as I was saying. I currently work at Kiosk, which is deal with FMCG. That is fast moving consumer goods. But over and above that, I do a lot of like side stuff with building tools that other maybe developers can use. And you can find that on my GitHub. GitHub, yeah. And rarely tweet. So yeah, so that's what I do. So let's get right into it. And the first, I guess where we'll start from, just 1 second. There you go. And I would want to share the screen with everyone. Okay, cool. There you go. So let me, okay, there you go. Okay, so we'll go just like, I'll try and share, let me just share the screen so that you have access to what's happening. Yeah, there you go. And I think everyone can see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. So we'll start from here. What was your experience like seeking your first job? This one is, I feel this is for everyone. This is for everyone, except me, obviously. So we will do little of talking and more of talking to the guests who are there. Okay, cool. What was your first experience? I don't know who wants to go first. Let's go with you. Yeah, parents. Yeah.
All right. I can't say I had a really hard time. So when I was in college, in university, that is my final year, a few of my schoolmates managed to get an internship somewhere at Sandy Limited, and turned out they were looking for interns. So they shared links in some of these developer student club groups, and I applied, and that's how I got a job. So for me, I was very lucky. I got one straight out of school.
Okay, cool. Beatrice, I think she's here.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so my experience. So this is what happened. So after campus, attend campus, then just talking to people you know, yeah, and people who have seen what you're doing. So what had happened was we end the Kotlin everywhere training, which Frank pulled me into it, which was a good thing. So after the talk, now you're talking with people, and then you're telling people you're looking for a job. Then he told me they have an internship opportunity at the company. Then I applied. Then the interviews were successful. Yeah, so that's how we got my first job.
Okay. Who else? Who wants to go next? Mike.
Okay. My first job was, I think it was during internship. Yeah, during internship. I got recommended at a company. I had 1 day just to introduce myself and got to start the next week. I wouldn't count it as seeking a first job since there was not much seeking. Yeah, so that was my first job. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Who wants to go next, Wachira?
So mine is a bit different. So I have a different full-time job that's not dev related, but I got it because I had a lot of relevance in being a dev. So initially from doing freelance work, I landed on a freelance client who then turned out to be a full-time gig.
Interesting. Oliver.
Okay, for me, when I was in campus, I used to do these mobile apps for different people. So one of the guys I used to do it for, we ran several projects together. And when I completed campus, I was looking for internship. So I asked him, do you have any slots for internship at your company? And he told me, actually, we're hiring right now. So I can just have you come in for an interview, and then we can take you full time rather than for the internship. And that's how I got my first job.
Cool, sweet. So who has not shared? Yeah, Ronnie, you've not shared.
Okay, so I got my first job. Like some people know, I didn't do anything to do with coding in university. So after graduating, I started coding in 2019, and I was in this LC4 with the Kinodari. And David Odari was leaving the job that he was working by then. I don't know if you can hear me. My internet is very shitty. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Am
you.
I breaking? Maybe I can change the internet or whatever. Okay, let me fix this. Okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
So when last year in January, David was leaving the job that he was doing, and he recommended me that I should join, and I went. We just talked with the guys, and I got the job. I didn't apply for it. Yeah, I think it really helped me because it kickstarted my software career journey, because with nothing, could have been hard for me to get the job without the recommendation.
Cool. I hope I've not left anyone out. We can go to the second one. What advice would you give to people in this position now? Maybe two of us could answer this on that job search part. Maybe we could hear from Perez, and then also from you, Oliver. Yeah. So let's hear from Perez and then also from Oliver. So what advice would you give to people who currently are seeking for a job? They're in that position where, yes, I want to work now as an Android dev, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I think being here in this call for one is a good step, because I find that networks and communities are really the best places to get started in, getting fixed up for an interview. If you know somebody somewhere, they open the door for you. So definitely join the communities, connect with all the people who have already established themselves in the industry, and you can interact with them and request them to set you up. But also, if you want to actually do Android development, the best thing is just start. Google has lots of code labs which you can use to learn the basic Android concepts, or take a course on Pluralsight, the one that Andela offers, Google Africa Developer. I mean, you get access to free resources to learn how to be an Android developer from there, and it's a really good course.
Okay. Yeah, Oliver, you're next.
Okay, for me, I'll assume you already have the skills for that particular job. So all you need is to get a job. So I'd say don't apply for jobs randomly, hoping to land in one. Be sure of the positions you're looking for. Look at the people you're going to work with, because you'll be spending a lot of time, you'll be doing a lot of deliberations with them, and you want to make sure you're comfortable working with them and it's hospitable for you. So apply less and more quality jobs rather than a whole bunch of jobs that you might not even want, just for the case of hoping to land into one position.
Okay, cool. I don't know if anyone else wants to add something that has not been mentioned, but we move next to the next question. Can somebody use Compose in Java? This is a Java diehard who is, I don't want to switch. I have to stick to Compose and Java. Who wants to take this one?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
You can't do Compose with Java. This is because of a couple of reasons, but number one, with Compose, you have to do a lot of defined parameters. You can do that with Compose, and there's also a whole bunch of underlying things with Compose that you can't achieve with Java. So if you want to do Compose, just stick with Kotlin.
I have a question on that, Oliver.
Yeah.
what if you write the business logic in Java and just use Kotlin with Compose?
Well, you can do that, but for the actual UI, you can't use composables within Java classes.
Sure.
Anyone else? Conflicting opinions.
Okay, just on that, I'm very sure like different companies may still prefer Java, like one, like for example, my company. So I think if you can use Kotlin and use Compose for UI and use other business logic with Java, it can still work. So you can mix them, but you can just use Compose in Java class, but you can use Compose in a Java project with Kotlin now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then in terms of like with like the UI bit which just by Compose is built for, or is meant for, just as they've said, is like you have to do it in Kotlin, but then now if you want to add the other bits of logic and whatever, like your libraries, you can just extend that and just add that with your Java code. So when are we resuming physical meeting? And DroidCon will happen in 2022. Physical meetings, as Harun said, we will communicate that, I guess, be on the lookout for that. But at least for now, things have started being more clearer. Guys are getting jabs, COVID, vaccines have already come through. So yeah, we should be preparing to meet, and we hope we'll see many of you there when we start meeting physically. So that's the one. But for DroidCon, it's actually there. We'll actually confirm the dates. But the site is live. You can start seeing videos from before and even engaging with us. I know we've already started like constituting that whole bit of the framework that will enable us to have that amazing conference next year. So be on the lookout for that. And we hope you buy tickets. Please buy tickets. Now that developers are being paid a lot of money, even buy for your aunt. People who have pets, like Oliver, you can buy for your pets. You can come. We'll try and see if we can have a startup that deals with pets. So there is no excuse for you to miss DroidCon 2022. So, okay, next one. How do you integrate an application interface to an application? I guess this is, when they say an application interface, I'm imagining they've used the long term of API. Maybe, yeah. So how do you integrate that with an application? 1, 2 people, anyone who wants to take this one on?
Well, I could say that a lot of people use retrofit to make API calls. So I don't know if that answers your question, but when you're using retrofit, there are a few things you will need to set up. Which one will be a network client, then there will be one which will be the interface. The interface is why you actually list down your API calls. You specify which one is a get, which one is a post, and then you also add the URL there, the request body and the response body. Then the network interface, that's where you define how, which one is your base URL, if there are any authentication tokens that are needed in any other interceptors, like a timeout interceptor and so on and so forth. So once you're able to set all this up, you can make a call in your code. Maybe the other concepts that people usually add, like repositories and models, but if you're just asking about the API bits, retrofit should cover it for you.
Okay, cool. Anyone else?
Just add on that, maybe there may be beginners who don't know what API is. So API, I'll call it like, for example, when you are using maybe Facebook or Twitter, you tweet, then you send your tweet somewhere else. So I'll just use server loosely. So API is that kind of bridge that's talking from with the app and the server. So that's what we have. So we have different methods like posting your tweet, getting your tweets, put, like updating your Facebook post, and a lot of them. So just as Press said, the 2 libraries that we get thanks to Square, I love those guys. Okay, HTTP3 and retrofit that you should use if you're developing for Android. You can use HTTP3 without retrofit as well. That works perfectly, but you can use retrofit because it's kind of easier.
Okay. So what's the most challenging part in developing an Android application?
So before we get to the answers for this, so someone asked about the DroidCon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who had purchased, was it last year? Yeah, tickets for either last year or the one that was supposed to happen but didn't happen. So the tickets are still valid, so no need to purchase them. But I think all that communication will be done, so coming next year, so don't worry.
Yeah, thanks for the clarity, Harun. Okay, cool. So who's gonna take this one? What is the most challenging part of developing an Android application? I guess this is very opinionated. Beatrice, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. So, okay, I will answer the question very, and I understand it. So what is the most challenging part in developing an Android app? Now, whatever app you want to build will have many different features. Yeah. So when I was starting out, the most challenging part was when I wanted to build something to add a feature, to use, let's say, retrofit or another library, and I didn't know how to use it. So it was challenging. Now, there was sometimes pressure to just get things done. Sometimes pressure from just myself. So I didn't want to just stop and think, okay, can first learn and understand what I'm supposed to do, then start implementing. So I'll go into writing code. Yeah, you're going through a blog, yes, but you're not going through a blog to understand what they're saying. You just want to get code, write code, and just get it running even without understanding what is happening. So that is, for me, the most challenging part. And with time, as you keep on developing, you keep learning, then you realize you don't have to be in a hurry sometimes. Okay, sometimes there's all rush and pressure, but at the same time, but the best way you can solve for it is to just go back, first understand what you're building, understand the libraries that you want to use, so that now even the implementation of the features becomes a bit faster. And now even when you have to ask questions, you will know what to ask. Yes, so that is my take on it.
Cool. And Mike.
Most challenging part of developing an Android app. Okay, this is definitely on the top of my list. Terrible designs. I think that just usually puts me off from the get-go. If you're dealing with an API, there's also like no documentation. So you're just kind of like sifting through information, trying to find out how to interact with an API. But definitely the top of my list is terrible designs, especially if you're dealing with designs which are not Android specific or has no unity in terms of dimensions. I don't know if you've ever worked on an app where you are porting it from like some Figma designs or some Sketch designs, and if you look at the unit, it's just all over the place. There's a 33.5 here, there's a 67.7 somewhere. As in, there's no unity in terms of like maybe sticking to a specific factor, like maybe 5s or 4s or 2s. As in, it just gets annoying, especially if you have some kind of OCD when it comes to this kind of stuff. So for me, that's definitely top of my list. Terrible designs. If the design is bad, then I just know the whole experience from there is just going to be terrible.
Okay, cool. I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to like add on that, but I'll easily move on to the next question. Kendi, I think you're taking this one.
Yes. How do you integrate APIs in Android using Kotlin programming language? Who would like to take this up? Ronnie?
I think this Perez has said, really. Yeah. just what I said, you can use, normally we use two libraries, HTTP3 and retrofit, but there are 10 of libraries that can be used there. Yeah, it's hard to explain this without code. Yeah, but basically is that APIs do have like the method and the endpoints. So the post method, get method, put method, delete, and all those. So yeah, you just call those method and do what you want to do. Post something, delete something, get something. Yeah, it's hard to explain this without code for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyone else would want to like go with it, or rather you've explained it to you the best. All right. The next question is, how can one be consistent in learning coding?
It's a free for all. Maybe I can start.
Yeah, you just start and do it.
All right. I think it's as simple as become an expert. There are 5 steps to that, right? Ask questions, answer questions. So those are 3, talk, and 5 build. Simple as that.
And be consistent, yeah? Okay, cool. Okay. All right, we have another interesting one. How to integrate XML third-party library views into Compose. For example, I don't understand if this was a question or an example, but how do you go about this?
I was also about to say that the best way for this one is probably, because this is a very specific question. Yeah, of like, how do you integrate UI-ish libraries? Let me post the link to the question on chat. That's the link of the repository. And yeah, that's like a timeline view. And the thing with this, I think maybe I can help in answering this one is, because I've used a couple of this where it's like a UI-ish library that people can use within the application. And this is, for this one, there are bits of it that I've seen like in XML and everything like that. But then with all these libraries, there's usually like this very detailed or like an explanation on how to use it. So the question that was asked on how to integrate third-party library views into Compose, it's just in the documentation. There's no very specific one, but in terms of like general steps would be just open up the library, follow the steps, and if you have a question, you ask the guys who made the library itself from there. So yeah, I guess we can move to the next one. Oh, sorry, Kendi. Okay, there you go. Okay, yes.
I think before going to the next one.
Yes, Aaron.
I think, Michael, we were doing something along the same of maybe converting our XML library to Compose. Probably he can also shed some light on the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pretty much there's a whole conversion process which involves like going through the source code and going line by line. To line by line and just converting everything into a composable, then wrapping everything into one composable and using it. If that's too long, I think there's the Android view composable. I don't know if that's the right, well, that's what it's called, but it allows you to actually just use existing XML views inside your compose views. So if you don't want to go through the whole route of like converting XML to Kotlin, then you can just use the Android view composable, which allows you to actually just use any XML-based view inside your composables or compose views, and it will work as if and your entire UI was written in XML. So yeah, those are the 2 options. Although right now I think there's a very big opportunity in terms of like learning compose, which involves like converting existing XML views to composables. So that's a really big untapped opportunity. Trust me, for most library authors out there, I don't think they'll even bother with converting the XML views to compose. So you can always do a PR request and just try to get your contributions out there. No, I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next question is on book recommendations. First of all, do you guys read books? And which books would you recommend? For Android or software development? Because I know over the years I've come to learn there are people who are just like, I will never read a book. Others are fans of, I love to read books and nothing else. And so just out of curiosity, and maybe we'll start with you, Michael, because then the spotlight is on you and you just talked just before you could have your other tea break. Do you read books? And if so, which books would you recommend to people? Here is where you cannot lie, by the way.
I will be brutally honest. I do not read books. I can never get past the first 2 chapters. I do read specific pages in books, so that, like, maybe I have a bunch of PDF documents, but then I don't read like the entire book in, like, from start to finish. I usually have to have a very specific need. So just in time learning, if I need to read about maybe coroutines and the book has a chapter on coroutines, that's when I go to that specific chapter and read. I do not read books like from beginning to end. Yeah.
Who else go next? Let's hear from Paris, and then sorry, Oliver. Oliver, you're unmuted already, so Oliver, just go.
Okay, I'd recommend a book called Clean Architecture by Robert Martin, I think. It's quite insightful on how to design software, how to architect software you expect to scale. And that has a lot of background to how we got to where we are in software development right now.
Okay, cool. Paris?
I will go with the design patterns. This design patterns book is by, let me refresh my memory. I have it in my list somewhere. I recommend design patterns because it kind of broadens your understanding of how software development works beyond the scope of even Android, especially if you want to expand into, say, backend or even front-end work. The author, why can't I find it? Oh yeah, Eric Gamma. Yeah, that's the one. I'll share the link here in the chat, but it's one of the best books to read next to The Clean Code by R.C. Martin.
Beatrice?
Sorry.
Sorry, Perez. Yeah. Okay, so Perez is sharing, this clean architecture, rich filthy clans. I'll also read the ones that people are suggesting on the chat section. So just if you have any other suggestions, you can post it on the chat sections. I'll definitely read them out. Beatrice, I guess it's you. Any book? Do you read first of all, and then if you don't read, if you read, which ones do you read?
So for books, yes. I have not read a book for Android or software development. I've read other books of mostly fiction. But there's a book I've been intending to read since the beginning of the year, Clean Code by Uncle Bob. Yeah, but I've not read it. But I think it's a good book. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Who's next? Wachira.
God knows. Oh yeah. Lord knows I will not read a book. When I was starting off with Android, most books tended to be outdated. So currently, I still don't do that. I'd rather just go through the documentation from websites on that particular thing that I want to solve.
Ronnie?
No, I don't read the book at all. But as Wachira said, I would rather go through code and logically than reading the long documentation, but still it's help. But I like going through the code.
Okay, cool. There's been a suggestion that was there's been a suggestion in the chat section by David Kobina. It's Kobina. Yeah. Sorry if I mispronounce your names. So then the book is called The Gang of Four. And there's also another one called Clean Code. So you jumping on all of those are just suggestions again. And this is where it depends on what your type of acquiring knowledge that you love. Either it's reading books, text, either it's visual videos and stuff like that. So yeah. So by the way, so if you're just in case you have a question and you feel like even as the speakers are giving an answer and you have any other suggestions, please, you can engage with us in the chat section. So don't feel like it's just for you to be there. It's very engaging, and that's what a bar is all about, you know. Yeah. So yeah. So how do you move from tutorial?
Frank, before I have a book suggestion.
Yes, please. Oh, your book.
Yes. So, so I hope you can see the book.
Yes, yes, we can. Yeah. Saving data on Android.
Yes, so it's just a self-plug for those who are maybe interested in learning more about Firebase, Room, and so on. And probably the good thing probably about the team at Rwanda League is they do update the books. Maybe the challenges you're saying, like the book is outdated and does it maybe cover latest Kotlin version or Android Studio version? That is something they usually do. So you can probably get a book or two there. And yeah, so in case you are a book person, there is this one, and also there is one there is one that is called, can't recall the name, but it was sharing about experiences. It was like an interview for different engineers across maybe different companies, sharing the experience to where they have got and also some of the plans they have for the future. So I think, yeah, it's called Living by the Code. So it's a book that, an eye-opener, if you want to gain like I'll summarize it in a way like it gives the experience of maybe people who've been in the industry for 20 years in just like one book. So you can easily gain that experience without having to you yourself develop for 20 years. So you can just get some of the mistakes, some of the lessons they did from that. So you can just buy that book. I'll share the link.
Okay, cool. There's one that I've put in my, I started reading it. I think I started reading it like a PDF version, but it's a very long, hard book. It's a very, very long, hard book. It's called The Art of Computer Programming by Donald Knapp. It's a series of books. If you can have the time to read it, the better for you, but it's very heavy. I'll say it's very, very heavy. It's a series of books, so it's very heavy. So I'm even shifting from like soft copy to like hard copy. Again, my friends say that I want to have white hair very quickly, so that's what I'm trying to do, get white hair very quickly. So how do you move from tutorial to creating actual projects? I think we were given like a 5-step summary, and maybe I think Oliver, do you want to take this one? Yeah, how do you move from like tutorial to creating actual projects? And I feel like if some of the questions will look like they're repeated, we'll try and move on to the next ones. But yeah, Oliver.
Okay, I'd suggest you stop doing projects to follow tutorials and try to come up with a problem you want to solve, and then look for go through tutorials, make mini apps, sort of a mini app to understand that particular concept, and then move ahead to implement that in your project, sort of a pet project you keep working on. So whenever you want to learn something, say you're going through Compose tutorials, just do sort of mini projects about Compose as per the tutorials, and then once you understand the concepts, go ahead and implement that in your pet project. That way you can always go back to review what you did, and I think you'll understand the concepts better from just reading through articles or watching videos or such.
Okay. And then remember Wachira's 5 steps also. Yeah. Wachira, you can take them again, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, the 5 steps. The first one was.
First one was write. If you're into writing blogs, write. If you know, if you're thinking of a topic you want to delve into, write about it. It makes you an expert in that particular thing. Number 2, give talks on anything and everything. Number 3, build. It's actually supposed to be the last one. Number 4, ask questions. Number 5, answer questions. Simple as that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, just before you move on, also,
yes,
I just want to add to whatever Wachira said. I'd suggest whenever you have a big problem and you've gone through, you've scrambled everywhere for articles, for tutorials, for guides, for whatever, immediately you solve that problem. When it's still fresh in your mind, write about it.
Awesome. Yeah. How do you score internships? And is apprenticeship better than an internship? Apprenticeship is where you're directly under one person and they're constantly guiding you. While internship is, yes, I will apply and join somewhere and work there. I guess you can also have an apprenticeship inside the internship model. But like, I guess the first one is, how do you score internships? Anyone can take this one. Let's see who's not spoken in some interesting cycles right now. Ronnie, it will be you. Even as you smile on the screen, it is definitely you. You knew it's coming.
So, like, honestly, I didn't do internship at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, okay, go on.
Yeah, no, just continue. Yeah, just continue.
Honestly, though, yeah, I'm just so green in this. I will just say both will matter forever. I'll pass this.
Yeah, okay, cool. Perez, I think Perez, you said you did an internship?
Yes, I did an internship. Mine I got through a referral. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that networks are the best. So a lot of people that have approached me to help them get internships have been through LinkedIn, and where I can, I usually refer them to other companies that I know might be having openings or taking interns at the moment. So networking definitely a good way.
Okay. So I can help with this one too by saying this point, yeah. Whenever people are looking for internship, sometimes you find that someone has never done anything. Let's say I'm looking for an Android internship, but I've never built an Android application in my life. There's nothing I can show for it. The thing that also I've seen as a trend over the last couple of years is some people will join as interns and they want to secure like a permanent job or permanent role in that company, or just to learn something. It's good if you start from somewhere. Don't go there when you have never built anything on Android. It's good for you to at least have those fundamentals in place where you can build an Android application. You at least have a portfolio that you can show out there. And this is at least starts you off in a very nice place where even if you're asking for these internships, it's easy for you to actually convert them. And I think that I'm also campaigning for nowadays with some of my friends is the ones who are either looking for internships and the ones that you're actually working with as mentees, that rather. I tell them, please don't do so many internships, do very few ones. Because also doing many internships is not going to be good for you. It looks like you're always on a temporary sort of like thing, So try and do like a full role. It will actually help you out there. But write a lot of code also, even as you're waiting for the internships. My best advice for this is give yourself a job. Like every day you wake up at this specific time and you work for 8 hours, 9 hours, like writing that code and everything. And in between that slot, try and do research and see what are people looking for out here, even as an intern, what are people looking for out here? Not necessarily as an intern, but even like a full role. Apprenticeship, we've sort of mentioned this. I'm a self-taught Android dev with no papers. Do I stand any chance in gainful employment? If so, where should I start to seek for employment? To the self-taught people, please.
I can take this.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm a self-taught. Yeah, I didn't go to any school to learn how to code. Yeah, I think when you are learning Android dev and you join the communities and share what you can do and what you have done and what you are doing, maybe Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, that help people like to see what you can do and maybe they can give you a chance. I think that also is something that helped me secure my first job. If I was not really vocal, really in a group, like answering question, asking question, Odarik will not have seen what I'm able to do. And that's how I recommend to meet somebody else. So papers don't matter. It's just what you can do and what you can really, the skills that you have is that really can help. Learn, as Valentine said, learn and learn publicly. Learn, share what you have done, what you are doing and what you like to learn. I see people like I see a certain lady that is doing Android, like started doing Android like 2 months ago, and she's very, very vocal on Twitter. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
Someone else. Okay, so if
I
okay,
think
yes,
I can add on to that. So I'm also a self-taught dev, but I think everyone I think everyone who's done CS knows that everyone's self-taught. In as much as we want to say that that I'm self-taught, everyone learned on their own. But then again, if you really have the skills to complement what you can do, and you have a portfolio, and like Ronnie said, you're able to shout out loud enough. Someone once said in one of the earlier open bars we had, if you're not a loudmouth, then people will never know that you have that skill. So if you're able to market it out there and follow my 5 steps, these are the zangu. Follow the 5 steps. It will make sure that you have a really good portfolio that you can always point to people that makes you relevant in that particular context. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Kotlin, we will not even spend time on this one. Yeah, it's just Kotlin. What are the emerging trends in Android technology? Let's pick someone on this one. Mike, do you want to take this one? And Oliver?
Sure. What's trending in Android? There is obviously Compose. That is the new kid in the block, and that's what everyone is talking about, or trying to see how they can use it in their company or code base. Then there is KMM. I think it has been there for the past 1 year or so. Yeah, it's interesting. Getting to write, have one code base for everything, keeping it Kotlin. It's actually a very interesting thing to try out. I would recommend any Android developer to actually try, because it actually makes you really think about the kind of libraries you have to use. Everyone here says you have to use retrofit or HTTP for API integration. That does not happen with KMM. You can't do that. You have to always think, if this library has a Java dependency, then it's a no-go. So that's a very different perspective on choosing libraries. You have to make sure that it was written in Kotlin for Kotlin. So yeah, I think those emerging technologies, KMM and Compose.
For me, I'll give a shout out to KMM. And in addition to that, I don't know if I'm the only one who runs canary builds of Android Studio, and I've noticed something recently. There's something called Edt Test Devices. So you know how you have to run tests on an emulator or on an actual device for UI test, that is. With Edt, you're able to define your devices, and then they'll run headlessly as you compile your application. I mean, as you run your tests. I think they can be quite a time saver, and I hope they'll make it to better and stable in no time. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that as well.
All right. Are there jobs for Android developers, or should you have more skills other than Android development for you to get a job? Perez, let's have you on this one. Yeah. Should you have more than one skill? Like, should you be good at 20 things before you land a job, or should you just be good at one thing?
Okay, so I'll answer this in 2 parts. First of all, I believe that lots of jobs out here for Android developers. And as you said, you need to build your portfolio, sell yourself, and you're likely to land a good job in due time. But on the other hand, it's never a bad idea to expand your knowledge base. I mean, as human beings and developers, having a second skill set is useful, because imagine if you want to start your own project, or maybe you get a good startup idea. The first bit of it, you will be able to build both the client side and the server side yourself if you learn a bit of server side programming. And also when working with when you get a job working with cross-functional teams, sometimes it might be a little bit useful to understand what an API is and how it's written. It might even make you a better Android developer if you knew more about the other technologies. You could learn a bit of cloud so that you learn how to automate your own deployments. I mean, without knowing how pipelines run, for instance, you are not really going to be able to do that. But no, it is not, I mean, paramount to getting a job. It is just, it makes you a better developer to learn more skills.
All right.
I can go?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sure, you don't need to know other skills to land an Android job, but you can always learn something when at work. Like right now, I was writing React Native. I never wrote any JS before. And I was an Android developer. I was developing Android with Java and Kotlin. Yeah, so if you join a company, you may have to do something else that you never done. For example, writing pipelines. That's what I did the whole of last week. Yeah, so you can learn Android, but as you are in a job, you can always learn other technologies. It helps a lot.
Cool. Yes, please, Beatrice.
Yeah, I am. Okay, my experience has been, if first of all you just, and first of all get a good understanding, a good foundation for your programming skills, the basic programming concepts, because the knowledge is transferable across so many other languages, sometimes even the frameworks. So that now when it comes to learning on job, you will kind of have an easier time. Yeah, because I don't know so much Python, but once in a while I write in Django code, and now I got into that. Yeah, I kind of had first to learn Python, and because again, your programming skills, you understand the basics. Learning something else is not as hard. And when you're starting out, you don't have to learn everything, but just have a good understanding of the basics. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so can you please highlight a simple pathway in learning Android? Jetpack excluded. Briefly, I guess this is where, Oliver, I guess let me throw you back into this. Let me try to this one. Yeah, very simple path of learning Android, excluding Jetpack.
Okay. I'd say well besides working on projects, I'd say you focus on one particular point. Like right now, Android development is so broad. And like back in the day when you just had to boot up Eclipse, install Edt, and write everything in one activity. Right now, you have to worry about a whole bunch of things. So I'd say you focus on one particular bit, and then go back to your pet project. And as you work on that, you'll realize that, oh, I need to do networking, and then you'll have to figure out how to do networking. That way you learn how to do networking in Android, and then as you go on, you'll realize I need to write tests, and then you'll have to learn how to do tests and implement that in your pet project and so on. I think if you do that, you'll cover quite a bunch of not a bunch, but quite different parts of Android development, and you'll also have a project where you can go back to look at, and well, that you can use for other things you want to do.
All right.
Yeah. And something else. Just to add on that, besides the Jetpack libraries, there's a whole other set of libraries that do the same thing. So before you settle on one particular tool, one particular library or something, just look at the available alternatives, try to use them first, and then decide what works best for the problem you have. Let's say, for example, before you go all in to do Hilt, because it's recommended by the Googlers, just look at the other available options, look at coding, look at coin, see their weaknesses, their strengths, and then choose that for your current solution. Once you know dependency injection, you can do it in whatever library, same case for all the other use cases.
Can I go?
Yes, please.
I think mine is so simple. If you want to learn Android, just start with knowing the components, just the theory of Android. Then start with building simple UI, can know how to use those layout and everything. And now if you can interact with the UI, with the code, from there you can do simple thing, calculate everything, and now go to list. You can show the list. Then from the list, now you can now start doing the API. Other things will just fall in place. Just know the theory, like components of Android and everything, and know the UI, interact with the UI, build list up, and now start now using the API. That's what I can say.
Maybe I can finalize this part. So for me, having tried to get into Android for a very long time and failing and ending up being a full stack dev, I'll go with this. If you can find well-structured content, regardless of whether it's outdated, if you can get the topics that have been arranged in a particular way that you're able to upskill at any one point, that's everything. And the second part is build. As long as you're learning, build. If the content is outdated, lucky for you, you'll always find a solution on Stack Overflow and developer talks. Yeah.
Wachira on that. Sorry. I'm sorry. Wachira on that. For example, let's say some 2017 code you have a very rough time like running them on Android Studio right now. So you have to consider that.
Okay, cool. Yes, please. Beatrice, you have something to say. Sorry. Yeah, yes.
On the previous question, yeah. For me, okay, what I would tell the person is do not be hard on yourself, be patient. Learning is a process. And then the other thing is, as everyone else is saying, learn one thing at a time. Learn one thing at a time. And also take your time to understand why and what you're doing. For instance, you're learning HILT for dependency injection. Do you understand what is dependency injection? It will save you a lot when you understand, and of course broadens your understanding to the concepts and all. Yeah, and take it easy. Do not be so hard on yourself. Yeah, it will take time, definitely. So hopefully you find time to learn. Yeah, but step by step you get there.
Yeah, so there are some questions that have been asked to the chat section. So maybe if the speakers or anyone, if you just see it, you can, just engage with everyone and just like give a question and answer. Please just reply to them, and you can also continue our conversations on the other side. Recent CS graduate and got a first class. Will that help me getting an Android job? Just first thing is no. Partly yes and partly no, in that it might get you an interview, but then nowadays they've changed it to be more or less like, hey, show me what you've done within Android, or show me what you've done with your skills. And nowadays it's like, yeah, send me your CV, but also send me the things that you've already built so that we see this. And most of the jobs nowadays is that they require you to actually do a coding challenge or like some takeaway task to prove that you're actually good in the specific Android related job. Congratulations on your first class. Yes, it is not useless. Let them not lie to you out here that it is useless. It is not useless, but it's a thing that I think we usually joke with my friends is, to your this, add this. That's where society has reached. To your this, add this, and you move on from there. So yeah. Anyone who wants to add something, or we can just like move to the next one. Let's move to the next one. So what advice would you have for your younger self? I guess your younger version of an Android developer.
I'll start.
Yes.
It's just what I've said. Yeah, learning is a process. Be patient with yourself. You don't have to learn, or rather, you can't learn everything all at once. It takes time to be patient, learn, and of course, now as you learn, get questions, ask other questions. There's so many people who are willing to help. if only you ask the right question. You do not ask Aaron or Frank to do a whole Android project for you. You come with, this is what I have tried, this is what I've achieved, this is where I am stuck. Could you please help? And yeah, that is it.
Okay, cool. Someone else? Okay, wait, let's go to the next one. Let's get the next one. Okay, this is another one. It's one of those ones that I feel like can be asked in our group, where it's like, I've been working on a single activity multi-module app. Greatest challenge is navigating from one fragment in feature to a fragment in feature A. So like from feature A to feature B, since they know nothing about each other. Is there any effective resource that anyone has used that has helped them to achieve module to module navigation that I can use, especially the one that allows navigating with arguments?
Okay, earlier in the year, I had the talk about the dynamic feature modules. Part of the talk included navigation, which we were using the Android navigation class. So maybe for the person who asked this, we could share a link to those slides, and they can get an answer from there.
Yeah.
But Android does have an inbuilt navigation lib for this.
Okay, cool. And also I've shared the link. Sorry, yes, please.
I've had the same issue also. There's quite substantive guide on the Android developer documentation for doing the same, but basically you'll have to reference your navigation graph into the other module. This is for dynamic modules reflectively, and you'll be able to access them. If they are the other way around, they're not dynamic, you can always reference to them directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing there's the answers that are coming in even on the chat section. Segun is saying, I use deep links for module to module navigation in this case. I've also shared the link to the Telegram group. I guess more answers can be provided there and in depth. There are people who might also ask you to even share what do you call it, the code base and what exactly you're working on to help you. Someone else has also said, check out Chris Burns repository TV for you to learn more from there. So I guess some answers will come from the chat section too. Shed light on compose and clean architecture and how to work with the two.
I think I can take this one. I feel like if you're at a point where you have to mix these two and you really don't understand what is going on, then you are at a wrong path. In Android or in software engineering in general, there's a lot of concepts, and these concepts are usually for very specific use cases or a wide variety of use cases. So first, understanding that use case is usually the first step. You don't just decide to say, by the way, I'm going to use Compose together with RxJava, together with Dagger, together with SQL Delight to make an app if you don't understand each of those individual concepts. And I feel like this is what really happens, especially with people who are just entering the programming world, is they try to take in so much and make so much without understanding the individual components. So they come up with a very complex question, which they can easily answer themselves if they could understand the individual components. So shedding light on this specific question, yes, you can achieve clean architecture with Compose. Is it the recommended way of doing things? Yes, sometimes no, sometimes. I think this is one of those it depends question. It depends on your app. What's your use case? How do you do things in your company? Is clean architecture pivotal for the way your app is designed? Are you working with a legacy code base? Are you working with a new code base? Are you familiar with Compose already? Are you learning Compose or using it for the first time? So it's one of those it depends questions. You can't just say this is how you do it and this is the way to do it. It is very dependent on a wide variety of use cases and what you're working with. So my answer is it depends.
Okay. Cool. Let's move to the next one. Fresh graduates entering the job market in terms of best opportunities which allow growth and at the same time offer fair compensation, salary. They're very specific with the amount and they've put the currency. Offered to interns, fresh graduates entering the job market, best opportunities. As the speakers are thinking about this, because I'm seeing them, they're really like thinking about. So like, one is, I'll give you this advice. One, best is very relative in terms of like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Because different people have different career objectives. So the first thing I think you need to do is call yourself for a meeting and ask yourself, what exactly what am I looking for? And I know it usually looks funny when you tell someone who is like a fresh graduate, like, hey, you know what, by the way, you need to figure out what exactly you want, because I'll tell you the truth, programming is very wide. I know people who are, what are they called? IT support. Their work is to wake up every day and to go, you know, those offices where someone would raise their hand and say, my computer has been hacked. Yet what they did was they just forgot to put, or they're using like a LAN cable to access the internet, and the LAN cable can just not connect. And they make a lot of money, 6-figure amounts, you know. And probably the only things they have is like Cisco or something, because I was talking to so many CS guys who are telling me, oh yeah, us in uni were taught to this Cisco stuff. So there are guys who make money from that. And so there's that, there's also like programming bits. And so it depends on, first of all, is what do you want? Two is best opportunity in terms of if you want to grow. One is you'll have to target that specific company. I look at interviews as a thing where we look at it like, I'm just looking for a job, and then the company feels like they are helping you out by giving you money. No, you're coming in to solve a problem and show you're a good fit in terms of like, how does the company look like? What's the company culture? Ask these questions when you're having these interviews in these companies. Hey, do you guys have a plan for growth? Do you guys have a learning scheme? Like, I like asking such kind of questions. How will I grow as a person if I join your company? Yes, I'm an intern or I'm coming in as a junior role or whatever, but I'll ask these questions. How do I see myself growing in the company? What are the plans that you guys have? And I don't take the word in terms of like, yeah, you will grow. No, what are the things you guys have in place? And asking this question and having them maybe in like a paper is actually a good thing. It actually shows that you're actually serious with this. And also, before you get in, try and network with people out here in communities and the like. They really help out. I'll tell you that they really, really help out. They'll even tell you like, hey, when I join this grows, or this tech person helped me grow like this, and they give you all this advice. So that's what I'd say. I don't know if someone else has anything to add on this. It's a very detailed conversation, by the way, I feel like. Very detailed topic to look at.
I can say something. I feel for most people who when they are looking for their first role, their idea is, I want to grow so much, but also I want to get really paid well for growing that much. So in an ideal world, that would be perfect. Yeah, that would be the ideal job for anyone starting out. But then we live in the real world. So most of the time, it doesn't work that way. Unless you're just really, really, really lucky to, like, yeah, you get a really good job where they're paying really well, and also you're really learning a lot. For most part, companies look at the value you're bringing into the company, whether you had an internship, whether you've never coded before, that they look at the value. A lot of companies want a return on investment. They want to know if we train you or if you take you as an intern, you might end up being a full-time employee who brings even better value to the company. So that's why you find like a lot of companies, as much as they want to give good compensation, they can't take that risk. Because what happens if they give you an internship for like, let's say 1 year, and they're paying you really well, but then at the end of that 1 year, you have not, you leave, or the value you provide, or the value which you will provide to the company is not what they invested in. So they don't take that risk. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a very terrible mindset to have. I for one believe that every internship or junior position in tech should have at least a minimum amount of money or compensation given to interns or junior developers. But however, that is still also a very it's a place where there's a lot of debate, because some people would say like, yeah, what's the value? this intern or this junior is bringing to the company. And that is also something which is highly dependent on the person in that specific role, because skills differ, levels of experience differ at that stage. So it's a very, if you're lucky enough, you'll get a good company who actually tries, who can see your value, but then you'll also have to do a lot of giving back to make sure that, yeah, this company invested in me, let me also do something about it. Sadly, there is also the other side of the edge or the fence where, yeah, they invest in you, but you're like, yeah, I may just want to get a job and pay my bills. So you don't really give back value, and that kind of affects the next person who applies for the internship. Maybe they change policies. Now they don't even say they're paying interns. So it's an unpaid internship, as usually seen in Kenya. So it's a very complex discussion. All I can advise is you do your best. If you get that opportunity, make sure you really go all out so you can actually get maybe an extension or a permanent job. Yeah, and also compensation is not always monetary when you're starting out. That's something to really take note of. It's not always about the money. At that stage in your life, it's not money. Yes, is important, but I think this stuff, things like networking, things like knowledge, opportunities. So it's not always about needs. Sometimes even they can even say, but can you pay for my master's? Can you pay for a trip to this conference? I don't know. So there's so much you can actually get when you're starting out, and which besides money.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can if you're an intern, you can ask your company to pay for your ticket for DroidCon 2022. I think you learn a lot. Yeah, so the other one is if one has minimal experience in mobile development, which is the best platform to choose to start with, considering market demand? Kotlin, Java, Flutter, or React Native? It depends. It depends. It really depends, my friends. Okay, but let the guys answer. Let me not burst anyone's bubble. Wachira, do you want to take this one? I know you've been active on the chats. I'm seeing you active in the chat. So do you want to take this one? Maybe we can hear your voice again. Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually looking for a video for someone who requested the video. I really wanted to remove Java from that list, but the problem is there are so many libraries that you will need in the future that are written in Java and have not been converted to Kotlin, and you have to figure out how to work around that. Kotlin is nice. Google is pushing for that. Flutter is just a different world. React, I honestly don't know. You just go with your gut feeling. But I know other guys are better post for this.
Who wants to fall on the sword of this one?
Let me try. I feel like no matter the technology you use, as long as you reach a certain level of proficiency, you will always get a job. There'll always be an opportunity. Very true. I am obviously biased to Kotlin because I love that language so much, but I would say the same thing for any other language, any technology. As long as you're proficient enough in that technology, there will always be job opportunities. So it's all about just if you don't know what to decide, maybe you have a mentor or a group of peers. If they're all doing Kotlin, if you want to go with the crowd, do Kotlin. If you don't want to go against the crowd, go do Flutter or Java or React Native. There'll always be an opportunity. There's a very big gap in the tech ecosystem in terms of people who are capable of doing the job, that it's scary, that it's so scary. The number of people who are good enough to do specific tasks is so little. So you find that maybe there's this one individual who's always getting most of the work, to the point that it's overwhelming. But there's so many opportunities in tech, in any technology. So no one should ever tell you, by the way, yeah, go use Java. Or Java is dead. There's no such thing. There's only, as long as the technology exists, there's a job, as long as you're proficient in that technology.
Cool. Yeah, I will still stick to, like, depending on what you're doing, it's really like you'll get a job in it. Yeah. So what's the most interesting thing about 2021 and Android? I mean, like, I know we mentioned it earlier. We sort of like had alluded to this, that you could ask or answer all of these questions. Like, guys talked about this earlier, Michael and I think was polling or something. Yeah. So guys answered this on like the questions that were the things that they found very relevant.
So I can add something.
Yes, please, Ronnie.
I think one interesting thing that that is there, like you can export Figma to composable. That's one thing that I'm excited about. I've not tried or whatever, but it's something that you need to look on if you are doing compose. That is interesting.
Oh, there's another one. I actually am a fan of UI and design stuff. So if you so this is interesting, but let me just talk about also just Android development in general. Now, if you're an Android developer at the moment, you really need to be keeping yourself up to date with what's happening in terms of like updates that Google is releasing concerning the Play Store, concerning even developing your apps. You really need to keep yourself up to date with these things. So if you've signed up for the Google developer newsletters, they send these emails and they tell you, hey, coming up in 2 months or 3 months, we will stop doing this thing for applications on the Play Store. And never miss these things. I'll tell you the truth, never miss these things. I think this year when I was taking my hiatus away from tech, I missed them and all my applications are removed from the Play Store for violating Play Store policies or something, all of them. And my Play Store account was banned. And this is because I could not just like act to these things. And it's like they removed it and I was like, whatever, we'll try and see whether we can get another one or something like that. But they really removed them and it was really sad that happened. It's something that I feel like I'm really pissed off at Google. I am not afraid to say it. I'm pissed off at Google at the way they actually act on this Play Store removal policies. It feels very little work is being done on that area. I know they are working. Yes, they have an amazing team that's working on that. But personally, I'm really not that impressed with the way they do that bit of removing all your apps plus banning you from ever publishing on the Play Store account. Feels very drastic. And in as much as, yes, it's trying to catch up with the way iOS is doing stuff and being really fine and everything like that, there's really a better way to do stuff, you know? There's really a better way to correct errors that were done before. So it's my very raw emotion concerning that. And having been a victim plus witnessed guys who've actually gone through this, I am not afraid to say that they really need to improve how they handle Play Store complaints. And I know there are several people on this call, I'm even seeing them here, who are really pissed because their applications have been removed, years of progress, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails, and that's it. You know, before you could react, before you can talk to anyone, your application is just out of the store with all the users that you gathered. So yeah, interesting thing is that UI bit. Now you can generate a whole theme. I forget the name, but you can generate your own material themes also from, if you go to material design blog, they've talked about it, how you can generate composed themes from there, just putting in a color, and then it automatically generates and creates that for you, and you can download it as a KT file. I will remember that and post the link on the chat section. Another thing, what is the thing you hate most about 2021? Yes, yes, please, Oliver. Yes.
Before you move on to the next question, I'd have material U right there.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Yes, please.
It's a material of development that is 23. It's quite interesting. They have new palettes and such, and if you've used an app that is adapting to the dynamic colors, it's quite fantastic. I can't wait to see more apps support it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've actually played around with that, and it's very interesting. I think previously I'd write the code for changing that, and then until they created it, we will share the link there. Yeah, so this is material. You'll share the link, and yeah, share the link on the chat section, and that specific part we'll also share it there. Yeah. So what's the thing you hate most about Android development in 2021? Michael, Beatrice. Yes, please, Harun.
Yeah, so we have a hand raised. So Patrick, do you have a question or something you want to say?
Yeah, sorry to take you guys back, but so I'm Patrick and software developer, Android and iOS. So I think I want to go back to the question, or rather the concern around the technology or the language to use. I think it depends on where you want to work. From my experience, it depends where your job market is. Currently, at least global job markets are there, so you can't go wrong with any language. But I think as a guide to guys joining the Android field or whichever programming field, I think you probably need to figure out what a company is using, because most companies, trust me, are not very eager to change, and most big companies, though they'll experiment, they already have legacy code that runs, so it wouldn't hurt to figure out. And I think that probably this is where this community might come in handy. I think we're a couple of developers in different industries, so maybe we might think of having a survey on what technologies the different companies use, and this can be a blueprint or a guide to developers just to figure out from a Kenyan market, or maybe if you go wider from an African market, what are the most common used languages. That definitely provides a guide to guys joining the field, because you might be, I've met developers who are very experimental who can do very great things with some languages, but unfortunately, say for where I work, we encourage innovation and we encourage exploration, but at the end of the day is what's bringing in money. How fast can we turn around requirements into code? And with a pool of 10 developers who are familiar with language A, however archaic it might be, you with your fluent language coming to join with that team without any idea of what the legacy code does, I don't think you'll make any traction. So I think that's my 2 cents from a language perspective. We as a community, there's a lot we can do in terms of providing information so that people can make informed decisions. So if say you're very good at a language like Elog and you want to get into the market, probably the market is saturated with Java. It wouldn't hurt to know Java as your second language. That gives you a foot inside most companies, most development houses, and then from inside, then you can think of how to improve it and maybe popularize what you're good at.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick. So let's move to this. What do you think you hate most about 2021 in Android development? Yeah, I think I've given raw emotions on one. Nowadays I have an opinion on this bits, so that's one. I guess let the other people speak. Ronnie, I saw you unmuting and muting, and you're really like nodding. I feel like there's something that has really annoyed you. Yes, please, sorry, bro.
This is always there. I hate deprecation. Like I hate things coming and maybe for 1 year or whatever, then you see the deprecated. I hate that. That's one thing that I hate most about Android development. Not only this year, but Android development. Yeah, deprecations.
I was joking with some friends. I was telling them I never use anything from Google that is in beta or alpha. I never ever touch them. Even Android Studio, I moved to stable because I was like, there is no way I am ever going to play around with those things, because you get attached to something and you're like, this is a very nice feature, and then you wake up tomorrow, there's a blog post saying, oh, we've retired this feature, and you're like, why would you ever do that? Why? Yeah, I have someone else. Beatrice, you want to go? Oh, wait, Paris, go next. Yeah.
I'm just going to comment on the deprecation that Ronnie mentioned. I mean, someone said on Twitter that if Google deprecates something, then probably it means it's stable. Then that means you should probably use it then. Okay, although I know some other people who will argue that if something is deprecated, it means there's a better way to do it. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Cool. Michael?
Okay, for me, it's tooling. Oh my goodness, tooling. I don't know how hard it is just to get stable tooling. All these fancy libraries are nice, but if the tools we are using don't support them or they don't work well with them, then what's the point? Because it just struggles. Now, I kind of understand why some companies would stick to Java or some very old legacy library. It's because it works and the tooling works with it really well. I understand that decision because there's no way you're always releasing something new. For instance, Material UI, yes, it's nice, but then if the Android Studio does not support it, or when it's released, you have to wait like for 3 years before it becomes stable, then I really don't see the point of really jumping on to any new ship. Tooling, that should be the most important thing this company should be focusing on. In fact, that should be the first thing they release even before they release a library. Oh, is the tooling stable? No, we don't care about this shiny library you want to give us. Tooling, I will sing about this if I have tooling. My goodness.
Yeah. Who else wants to go next? I have others. Perez, you have another one or?
Oh, okay. Now what I'm actually unhappy about with Android development is the adoption of OS. I mean, in 2021, you develop apps and then some people are trying to install your app on Android version 4.1 and they're like, how do these devices even still exist? So you can't even use something like HTTP3 with some of those earlier versions of Android, and it becomes a really big pain. And it has to do also with Android users spending a bit, because I mean, if you're using a phone from 2012, then yeah, okay, there's not really much you can do about it, but yeah, it does get on your nerves sometimes.
Cool.
I think I'll add on to that. Other than obviously the deprecations, there's this issue that tends to arise up specifically when I'm working with some of my clients, where you only get a bug that's crashing on a particular kind of a phone. You'll find Huawei specific bugs, you find some that are for Samsung, and you're like, what the heck? I thought it was supposed to only work depending on the Android version. So that you can't even figure out how to work around that side of it.
Yeah. I remember I've spent a bunch of time with I think it was like previous role, I think at Intel, where we deal with all this OEM stuff where you have Huawei devices, you have Techno devices, and you have Samsung devices, and then you have, you know, Nokia's and whatever. And so when you're developing, actually, one of the free tips I give people is, if you're a developer and you guys release things to production, do not use your emulator. Even for testing, do not use emulator, because that's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. The first thing is, if there's a project that has been going on, that's one of the things that I quickly write up within the second week or something, is like, I need devices. If the company doesn't provide, I go and buy. I have a whole test lab in my house, so I will test in each one of them. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what happens, because all those things where they'll tell you to use maybe virtual testing stuff, I really don't trust them. It's until I see it on an actual device, that's when I'll be like, yes, this is the condition in this market, and this is how it actually plays out. Anyone else with another pet peeve? I have one. It's 2021, November. We still cannot create an Android app offline with Android Studio. We can't. And if you think it's a lie, start building an Android app right now from scratch and tell me if you'll be successful. It's 2021, November. We still can't I can't create an Android app offline. So if I'm in a remote area, if I go to a very remote area where there's no internet, I still can't create an Android app offline. No matter what I do, I can't. I've tried it so many times and I'm like, why? You know, why? And then the other one is just about the Play Store. I can continue on and on about it, but it's like, you know, why is that the case at the moment? Compose is good. I'm just wondering why it's just stuck at, you can't go past a certain number, past a certain API level. I do understand why they're doing it. I'm just causing commotion over it. It pisses me off over it. Someone else who has anything else before we move on to the next one? I feel like we should change this to like ranting. Gradle offline mode does not work, Ephraim. I have tried that. Trust you me, it does not. Like, try do it yourself. Go offline, create any Android application. Tell me how far you go, and then you can have a conversation.
Frank.
Yes, please.
You can cache the Google repository and use it offline. I haven't tried it, but it seems possible on paper. And I'd say my pet peeve in 2021 about Android. It's Kotlin releases. So I've been doing a lot of KMM development, and you'll find you've updated your Kotlin version, but then the plugin isn't supported, or iOS will fail to compile, or something else. So if that was unified, the Gradle plugin, the KMM plugin, and the Kotlin version, I think that would be very good for me.
Okay, cool. I know there's usually a tweet that someone says, like, if you're totally pissed off at everything, do you ever report these things? I do report. I am one of those people who is passionate about reporting bugs. I really love it because I feel like, and I actually explain detailed, like, why is this happening? And I don't rant, I'm very objective in explaining it. So let's move on to the next one. For fear of this being a rant session, one thing is, as we're completing, is we really appreciate the work that the Android engineers are doing over at Google, both the tooling, UI, everything. These are just things that I'm like, oh my God, I wish this could change. So Jetpack Compose and XML, what are your thoughts? Should you choose one over the other? Maybe something like that. Yeah. So Jetpack Compose, XML. I guess someone is trying to think between the two, which is good, which is bad. Would you advise someone to stick to one and choose the other one? I know Compose is a shiny new tool. That's what I'm calling it nowadays. XML has been there for a long time. Yeah.
I think, okay.
Go ahead.
I think when we're starting out, you need to learn XML. You can't just go to Compose. Yeah, but you can start learn Compose, but XML, you will still use it. Right now, if you get to a company, you will still use XML. You need to know XML. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, what Ronnie said. You'd be surprised at the amount of legacy systems out there. I feel afraid for the people entering Android, and the first thing they learn is Compose. They don't have any knowledge on XML. Then they're thrown into a company where they're using an XML code base. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that's going to be a really huge shock factor for them. So if you have the time, learn both, just to be on the safe side. Compose is definitely the future of UI development. That is without a doubt. Even those legacy systems you see will eventually be migrated to Compose, provided there's funding for that. But yeah, to be on the safe side, just learn both XML based development and Compose based development.
And just as a point, like XML, when we're talking about XML here, we're talking about the UI bits, because even with Compose currently, you still have to use bits and pieces of XML, yeah?
I have a question on this, Frank.
Yes, please.
Now that Android OS, it's built on XML, like almost every UI is XML. Will they really change it to Compose maybe years to come? I don't know. The question on that.
I've seen they've been trying to change the apps, yeah. So the apps have been rewritten slowly to be 100%, I think, Compose first. And I guess that's usually one of the nice bits that I'd probably give as a plus into what I don't work at Google, neither do I don't work for them or anything like that. There are some things, as you've noticed, I will talk badly if things are really bad. If things are good, I talk good. So the thing I've noticed is there are some, they're also trying to also do like, we will start out by setting that example. And so if you watch the recent, I think it was the Android developers, the recent one that happened in October, I guess that was one of the places that I saw that they were talking about, yeah, we have this app where they're talking about Material U and they show you examples of how they're actually using it. And they're trying to rewrite so many things. So like if you try and update your phones, and this one is, if unfortunately, this is again, if just to give context, if you're joining us and you're not in Africa, this might be something that does not maybe relate to you that much. But if you're joining us and you're in Africa, this will relate to you. And I'll boldly say Africa, because if you look at, if you're on transient, is it transient? Yeah, phones like Oppo, Techno, even Samsung joined that bandwagon. And most of these OEMs, you know, it's like nowadays, a phone is just for 1 year, by the way. It's no longer for like 3 years. Where it's like, if you have a phone for 2 years, someone is wondering like, what is your problem? And so we have a situation where you buy an expensive phone for even $1,000. That is if you have a lot of money, you have $1,000. And if you have $1,000, yes, we buy phones of $1,000. If you're not from Africa, we do spend $1,000 and $1,000 plus on phones. And so you spend $1,000 on a phone. And so you spend $1,000 on a phone, it's really relevant to you for like a year and a half. After that, you're thinking of upgrading. I have someone on the call who does this, or who has probably updated 2 or 3 phones that are very expensive over the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm like, why? Why would you terrorize yourself over that? But then for the low end guys, you're still on Compose and you'd never see. But I think like Perez said, there are people who are, was it Perez, I think, or Ronnie, who was like, we have computers or devices that are like 4 point something, you know? And so if you have such kind of scenarios, you really can't like get away from that bit of it also. Yeah, maybe it can happen, maybe it cannot change, but they try and change that. I know they've been trying to say like, oh, apps below this, they're trying to phase them out slowly by slowly. So we hope, Ronnie, back to your questions, that I hope they will make those large scale changes and force OEMs to like stick to what they're doing with Pixel and the like. I mean, like the saddest thing is that even with Pixel, it's become a 1-year phone, maximum 2 years or 3 years. And then it stops. I'm like, that's so sad if you come and think about it. This is where I'll rant about welcome to capitalism, and where people just want to make a lot of money from as many devices in 3 years. So, I mean, that's what happened. So what progression would you give for a new person learning Android development in October 2021? This one was answered. What tips would you give for those frustrated with Android Studio build times? In short, how can I improve my build times? Yes, now let's hear what the Android engineers are doing in their company so that they don't waste time lying to people. They're chilling, they're watching YouTube videos, and they're like, yeah, waiting for the build to finish. What do you guys do? What do you guys do? I'm interested in listening to your answers. Yeah. Who wants to go? No one wants to jump on this bandwagon. The optimization discussion is very deep. Yeah, I know you can add very small things at the end of it all. Yes, Mike.
Okay, what do I do? There's quite a bit of things I do. One is how I organize my modules. That's definitely one. 2 is I'm trying to make sure, or trying to reduce the number of dependencies you have in your project. So you only use libraries which you actually need, and use libraries whose where you can actually debug or look into build times, because there are some libraries you add. I think there was a phase back a couple of years ago where everything was just using annotations. So people started realizing, oh yeah, as much as annotations are good and we have compile time safety, we have this issue of build times taking really long. Yeah, so there's those 2 things. There's quite a bit of stuff you can do with Gradle just to make it faster. Mind you, all these optimizations you do will not work if your computer does not have the sufficient resources to actually run a decent Android project. You can't be having 1 or 2 GB of memory available and expect things to magically like poof work. It's not rocket science. This
Michael,
is yeah?
Michael, cough. What's the recommended RAM size that you give someone 2021 Android development?
Okay, I'll be modest. Okay, I'll just take it down a notch. If you have 8 GB, and when I say 8 GB, that means you're not opening any Chrome browser. Yes. So if you are one of those people who needs to Google a lot, I would recommend getting a secondary device, probably a tablet or your phone. Because let me tell you something. If you're running Chrome and it eats half of your memory, and then you run Android Studio, it's definitely going to take the remaining half plus more. So it's not going to be a pleasant experience as you go deeper into development. Sorry?
What about the processors? Processors also, because I want to give a combination of recommended processor and because someone has already I know someone has decided to poke you on the chat section by saying to improve build times, buy M1 Max MacBooks like Twitter devs and you're done, man.
That is if they're saying, if someone is telling you to buy an M1 MacBook to make your Android development faster, then they've not really been doing this for a really long time, because everyone knows hardware is hardware. No matter what voodoo happens behind the screen, hardware is hardware. If there's a minimum amount, hardware level that your CPU has to have. This is whether you're having an M1 chip or an Intel chip or an AMD chip for it to actually run properly. Yeah, you can get a bit of optimization with an M1 book, but M1 MacBook, but then it reaches a point things start to hang. If Juma is on the call or any of the people who are actually doing like,
oh, he's here.
Yeah, he can tell you, but the shit happens and the system
No,
hangs.
no, nothing. To be honest, nothing. It's very smooth. I don't have. The only problem I had with M1 was I installed like install version for a month. I was crazy about that. Then I got that it was Intel, so I changed it to the Apple Silicon one, and everything is okay right now. So I won't say that there's anything.
Okay, let me repeat what I said before. Like, shit happens. If you get really deep, okay, underline. If you get really deep into development, shit happens. Plus, Ronnie, you're running on Java is the case. So we have really you have the comfort of stable tooling. Enter the Kotlin world where libraries are changing every other day and
I use Kotlin as well. I use Kotlin as well.
I'm talking. Go deep. Frank, can you like add deep to the PowerPoint and just underline it? And anyway, hardware is hardware. It's in a tip. For normal, if you're going to be doing Android development on a day-to-day basis, having just if you can get 16 GB of memory, that's just a good place to be. That's whether you have an M1 MacBook or an Intel. No, it doesn't depend. Whatever CPU you're using, just having 16 GB of memory is good, because imagine a situation where you want to run your emulators, you want to run your browsers for Googling or reference material, and then you want to run a couple of ID instances. There's comfortable development and there's development. Those two are very different. Comfortable development involves you're working on some project in Android, then someone calls you, but then can you check this up? You open another Android Studio instance and nothing hangs. You're still working. You're Googling stuff, you're playing music, you're opening Slack, you're replying emails. That's comfortable development and nothing is hanging. And then there's development where when you want to launch something, you have to close something else. So depending on the kind of hardware you have, you might have to jump between the two modes of development. But in general, if you have an 8 GB laptop with 8 GB RAM, you can get really far. That's what I started with. It took me really far before I upgraded. So having 8 GB RAM, any CPU of any kind will get the job done. Yeah, and then there's projects which even if you have 16 GB of RAM, it won't work. This is I think like at Dropbox they give them like 96 GB RAM computers to work with. So yeah, depending on the company you're working with and the scale of the project you're dealing with, the hardware has to either step up or it has to step up. So it's also an it depends question.
Can I just put
on
yes, please. Yes, please, Ronnie. Yeah.
You need to have a stable internet, for it to download the thing that is downloading. If you have like maybe kbps, that will take some time.
Okay, so anyone on the call, if you're wondering why we're throwing a lot of shade, is because I think Michael and Michael and myself are hardcore anti-Mac fans. We are like fans of, you don't need a MacBook to be an Android developer. It's just a lie, whether they'll tell you, oh, it will perform better. I'm just like, whatever, man. And I feel like I've spent more money on like machines and whatever, but I've never like really felt it. So that's the thing. And like, but like to be objective on this, all these conversations have weight, and some of the times we joke about it this way. But one of the things is, if you're an Android developer also, one of the first things you can do also is, there's this library, I don't know if you've heard about it, it's a Jetpack benchmark library. It's good for like, you can, like from within Android Studio, you can start checking your code performance, and you see, you check out all those things, and you can start to quickly see what is happening. And also, I guess Android Studio, when you look at bits to do with performance as you're building your Android app, don't just be interested in the APK per se, or the app bundles that are being generated. Just check on what is actually happening where, what is making me take a lot of time, and you can easily go in and start tweaking those bits slowly by slowly. So if you have money to buy an M1 MacBook Max, please go ahead and buy. If you have money to buy Windows, just buy and be happy with it. But you really don't need that extra juice. If you want to, you can, that's fine. And again, just understand that people grow with time. Perez has mentioned something important, SSD over hard disk. That I will totally agree, SSD over hard disk. And the joke is always when people switch from hard disk to SSD, they quickly start telling you, look at how fast my computer is loading up. Look at how fast they like doing that. I don't know why they like doing that, but it's a thing. Yeah, so SSD, and also in addition to your RAM, latest processor. Latest processor is really good because the processor will really help you out. You can have a 3rd generation 16 GB versus someone has an 8th generation 10th generation processor on 8 GB, and they will definitely outperform you. So yeah, so my mark is so perfect. Ronnie is saying that, yeah, okay, let this conversation continue on the chat section. A few more questions are left. One of them is it possible to code offline for Android? Say I'm in a place with no internet. This I'll say no. Anyone who's ever tried this, I dare you to come and show me how you can do this. Go try it out. Switch off your internet and just boot up a new application and see whether you can actually achieve this, adding all those libraries and the like. And those are the things that really piss me off, that I can't even use. Let's say if I imported one library, I can't use it again somewhere else or another. Like, where's that sharing bit easy for like someone who's starting out? So I wish this could change. This is a pet peeve for me. Yeah, if someone has ever tried this opposite, Ronnie, you want to try? You want to answer this one?
This one? Coding without internet?
Yes.
No, I can't even imagine doing that. No, I can't.
Okay, cool. How has technology industry changed in the last 5 years? What do you predict to happen in the 5 to 10 years? Anyone wants to take this one? It's feels like it's like the, yeah, so you're not left in like very few ones. Yes.
I think I'll just list 2 items: cloud and
Yes.
AI. Cloud, then AI and machine learning. Just that. Yeah. Read between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. I think, yeah, yes. Beatrice, you have something to say or no?
Nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is actually very true. I think I've seen this for the last 5 years. There's been a lot of movement towards most companies being cloud first and putting stuff on the cloud. So, and this is not like on-premise cloud. This is like, you know, like you're not having it within yourself. You are putting this thing out there, you know, you're giving it to Google, Amazon, Microsoft. So nowadays, on top of you being a developer, you have to learn how to do this. And also something else that I've seen Theophilus has mentioned, which is very, very true, Web3. And this is the whole part to do with blockchain technology. That's actually becoming a thing now, where now people have the hype of buying coins has ended now. And now it's more like, what kind of applications are we building on blockchain? And that is on top of Web3. And you as a developer, also as an Android dev, it could be good for you to also learn how to integrate your app with other things, you know, to start learning how to add other things too. So, and that's actually what we're talking about, like 5, 10, it's the same thing. So from your experience, how much work is too much work, and how do you negotiate among companies for time flexibility? This is where I'm an old school person, and so I recently learned nowadays people have 4 or 5 jobs as an Android developer at company A, B, C, D. How do you manage this, you know, and get time flexibility amongst that?
This is like, if you're working for a good company, you will feel that you have less work. Yeah, that's one thing. And also, you don't need to have too much work. Like, you don't need to have, I'm not sure if you're working like in one project, you will have what we call like too much work. And if there's too much work, you need to talk with the team lead or the project manager, somebody who can go on this. But if you're working for a good company, you will feel that you have less work. And that's one thing to know a good or not so good company. Sure.
Okay.
I think it's good to mention that your job is not your life, really. They say that taking care of yourself is most important, because if you don't set aside time to take care of yourself, well, you have to take time off to recover because you're burnt out or sick or some other thing.
Okay. So how do you negotiate? How do you negotiate for time flexibility? Yes, Beatrice, or Beatrice wanted to say something, you know?
Okay, good. Now, okay, something that has been running in my mind ever since I started working, it's having clear boundaries with work, so that now, yeah, because especially with how much time do I spend on work and when do I get my time? And sometimes there's a lot of, yeah, seems like there's a lot of work, and of course there will always, okay, sometimes they will want things done quickly. And again, you I don't want to compromise so much of the boundaries. It is hard, yes, I'll do that. But again, I want to be able to work, be my best at work, but still have my time. Now negotiating for work and now start talking about this too much work. I don't know how to do that. But I don't know. Yeah. But yes, again, having clear boundaries is it for me.
Okay, cool. How do you deal with the? Yes, please.
I'll ask you that question. How, how would you negotiate for
Oh,
the?
okay. Okay. Time flexibility. There's an interesting formula here where you can try it out by the following things, which again, I think one of the things is it depends on the company you're working for or with, and also your managers. So for time flexibility is, if for instance, you feel like you are more productive at specific times, or you feel like, again, look at that company culture, start with the company culture. If unfortunately for you, the company culture believes in 8 to 5, and that 8 to 5, and now that companies are starting to go back to work is you have to be physically there. It's unfortunate for you. They do not care about this. I will say they really would. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. Maybe they don't care about this because 8 to 5, you have to be here by 8 and leave by 5. And that's one of the metrics in which they used to judge you, in that you came late, you came early, and things like that. And it's not around work done, then that's a problem. But then if you feel like, okay, so there's no that emphasis, maybe it's more to work or something like that, one of the things you can try out or maybe have a conversation with is, one I saw and one I've tried is, you say, I'm going to work for 4 days in a week. And those 4 days in a week, you try and be very productive. So you have these goals that you've set. So one is, do not start asking for time flexibility if you're always falling behind in achieving your objectives. Let's say if you have targets you've been set for, or KPIs have been set for, you never meet them. So that's like out of the question already. The first thing is, you start, first of all, is ensure you're actually good and you have maybe 0 things to do with it. So then you start by, is it that you want to spend more afternoons to yourself? That's okay. You can say, I'll be working more in the morning, or you're not a morning person, you're an afternoon person. Hey, can I be showing up at this time and leave at this time? But then unfortunately for you, if the, what are they called? The stand-ups have been scheduled for at a time that is very early in the morning, you actually have to be in those stand-ups. But then if they can find time for it to be moved later, maybe because of 1 or 5 people, that's okay. So then now you can say, I am more productive in the morning, so I will put my work in the morning. In the afternoon, I am not available. You get? And that's one of the things that happens. 2 is in terms of time flexibility. One thing I've learned the hard way is, people respect your time if you actually respect it yourself. So if you say, I have a weekend, and this is like, I have a week where I don't work on weekends, and this weekend is me and my family time. And if someone looks for you in that time, you respectfully tell them, like, I know you're my boss or anything like that, or my supervisor, but I really, really cannot touch this work on this time because I'm actually with family. Or you're just unavailable during that time. I've seen even instances where now, I think even with Google Calendar, you can actually schedule work times. And if someone sets a meeting for you outside the work time, it actually gives them a warning outside work time. It's a setting when you go to settings on your calendar part. So they add you that setting, it's already telling you there. The other bit I'll tell you is this. They will respect you for your time if you speak out. So if you feel like you're not comfortable with something, please voice it out, because the problem is always keeping quiet and being a yes person. You'll end up being that person who does 1,000,001 things at the same time. If you've actually scheduled your time, I do this with even some of my friends. Someone might ask you for money or even time. Hey, are you free to come in? I'm like, no, I'm busy. What are you busy doing? I'm just chilling in the house. I'm chilling, but that's my time. It's time I'd scheduled for myself. I read this book by Charles Duhigg. I'll show it to you somewhere here. It's about time, and it's called Deep Work, actually. Yeah, Deep Work, where currently you'll see people who, you say you're relaxing, but you're actually not relaxing, you're in between working. So for me, when I'm actually relaxing, I'll shut down my computer and leave this is my workspace, like my office. I'll leave this place and go do something else. And if I have screen time away, I'll move away from TV to, anything that is producing light to me, to doing something. So I have things that engage my hands. I will run, I swim, I do gardening, I have all those things. So even in between the day, I have times that I've scheduled for that. So like a revitalization sort of thing. And I do it and I respect that time very, very seriously. So flexibility also, I'll add it also, is have this conversation with some of your managers and try exploring. Is it, hey, I will not be available on a Friday. You're not able to reach me because I need to do these 4 things, and actually do the 4 things. And once that level of trust has started developing, they'll actually give you that room for you to get, I don't know, 3 working days in a month or 3 working days in a week. And you actually end up, but and you actually end up being paid for that. And so the thing here is, be that person who is very, respect your time first and be productive with what you have, and then you can move to what you're looking for. So that's what I'd say, Beatrice. Yeah. It's a deeper conversation. I'll recommend some things to you, and then we can have those conversations with you. Sorry. Yeah. So how do you deal with depreciation issue in Android libraries? For example, with HTTP from version 3.13 required Android 5 plus, and there's targeted users, also included devices like SDK version 19 to run your app. So how do you deal with such things when you're using a library and it's been deprecated, and so you have to upgrade? What do you do? Paris.
Okay, some libraries actually allow you to specify which version of it you can use. In Gradle, Gradle does allow you to say only use this version of HTTP3. But the thing you have to do is to make the decision on which devices you're going to support. When you have a Play Store, you can actually check which users are on which type of devices, and then you'll see the percentage. If you have, say, 300 users and 5 of them are below Android 5, you could just decide not to support the 5 and remain with the other 295 who are using a supportable version. I don't think it is right to strive to support 100%. 98% support will work just as well.
Okay, cool. Anyone else has anything to add, or do you move on?
Okay, I think I have some input on this. Like as Paris said, there's a lot of trade-offs on making these kind of decisions. For instance, like this specific use case where you had to upgrade to support to Android 5. So I think it was because of security. They really improved the security on the newer version. I think it's the 4.0 and above. So if a company is willing to not sacrifice their user base for security, then they'd have to make that decision. But I'm guessing that they have to invest in an extra person on the team to actually see what they are missing out and if they can do any workaround. So it's really a matter of trade-offs. It's sometimes for a lot of companies, it's about the user base. Even if it means running on Android 4.0, they will not upgrade the libraries. However, you find for most part, they have a dedicated person or people or team working on the workarounds or the custom implementations to make sure that even with their current decision, they're not behind in terms of security, or just making sure that the code is secure or the apps are secure as compared to the ones running with the newer libraries. So it's a matter of trade-offs, and also it's a matter of the company or the team willing to actually look at those trade-offs and act on them accordingly.
Okay, cool. We have, I think, 2 more. So this is the second last one, and we've put the hashtag there, borrowed from Twitter. So if you've seen it on Twitter, this is why we're asking it. So you join an Android project that has a huge technical debt, so very long build times, 100+ modules, and most of the team has been replaced over the last 2 to 3 years. What's the first thing you would fix and why? Assuming that you have 100% control making decisions on what you need to work on first as you're starting out. So what would you start with?
Okay, let me go fast also on this one. Technical debt is relative to most companies. Before even fixing anything, I would first identify what I consider to be technical debt or what I consider to be problems. Is it deprecation? Is it slow build times? Is it too many modules? Once you do that, then you come up with a plan of action. Refactoring is a very complex process and it takes time. In fact, it's so complex that there are so many books out there just addressing that very specific topic. I would recommend Refactoring either by Martin Fowler. He goes really deep into that topic, but then come up with the process of refactoring. Remember, when you're refactoring, there's usually two options: just doing a complete rewrite or doing it really slowly without affecting your user base or affecting anything that is in production. Or if you're going with approach 2, that's when it gets really tricky and it requires a very detailed plan of action. Maybe it might involve like duplicating code or it usually involves a lot of code duplication. But the first thing I would do is try to analyze the problem and come up with a plan of action even before trying to start changing things in the code base. First, trying to understand, okay, what's the problem? 100 modules. Is the problem 100 modules, or is it the way we've structured our modules? Is the issue too many modules, or is it because we are using outdated libraries? So once you understand, once I find what the root problem is, that's when I would actually start acting on it, or now start coming up with a plan of action.
Okay, next person.
If you're talking about something specific that one can do on top of what Michael has said, I think that a good place to start will be looking at how you can build things that can be reusable going forward. Because if after doing your analysis, you can decide to start creating some classes that do reusable things. For instance, creating styles for various text boxes, and maybe some recycler view adapters that do the same thing. You create a reusable class for that. And going forward, you just use this, and every time you do you are doing a feature somewhere, you make sure you refactor that particular feature using this reusable, you could call them utils or use cases or whatever. It goes a long way.
Okay, cool. Next person, anyone?
Okay, I'll answer the question as is. So I have total control over the project. What I'm going to do is, first of all, sit with the team and discuss on what needs to be done exactly to make sure we're running smoothly. And then I'll have a few members of the team supporting the existing solution as is with all the problems it has. And then I'll basically have everyone else start up the project afresh using the discussed standards and everything else.
Okay. So let's pick on the next one or the last one. You get into a project and realize the design mockups can be improved. What do you do? At this one, I would have an answer to this one. As anyone else is thinking, is you're not the designer. If they were made by someone else, please stick to your work of developing and just raise a comment. Just state, hey, I think they can be improved, and say why you want them to be improved and how they can be improved. But by all means, you're not a designer. Your work is to improve. Because sometimes I'll tell you the truth. And my previous role, I remember I was being given a story about someone who'd come in and also just like have comments on the designs, and they'd want to change it. And sometimes it usually feels or looks like you're the one who is more incompetent, and so it's like either you can't actually implement those UIs, and that's why you want them to be changed, Or yes, they do actually look bad and you feel like they need to be changed, yes, though there's a process that you can use for that. Just tell them like, hey, how would the Android version look like? Because I'm seeing these ones look like more iOS features sort of thing. How would they look like? If it is movement, is it in terms of like, because nowadays there are some UI designers who would actually give you plus the, what do you call it? The transitions or the animations that they want to be there when a button is clicked. Is it the text that vibrates within the button, or the button itself is the one that is vibrating? So one advice I'll tell you is you're not the designer. There's a designer who does this. And I feel like it's because most of the teams I join are mostly in charge of implementing the UI parts and working closely with designers. And sometimes you have people who join the team and they're like, yo, we don't like this design. But then when you dig deeper, some of them, it's genuinely because they just can't implement it, or their skill set is not yet up to that par and they're afraid to voice it out, or do extra research on that. But you could just go and ask it to be improved. Anyone else who has a different mentality, or maybe, sorry, a different opinion in this, please answer.
I agree with yes. Reach out, let us discuss. But what if nothing changes? What if we just are like, no, we can't change the maps?
It's a very interesting problem. Yeah, actually, if you ask me, I'd say, unfortunately, you have no alternative, because maybe they have a process. If they have a process in which they come to these design decisions to the end. Again, if you don't have any influence in terms of like deciding on how the UI is being done, and your work is as a developer is to implement, you are unfortunately stuck to the unfortunate task of implementing the UIs as they are. So yeah. And then also, I've had Ephraim is saying a very nice thing. We have official design guidelines for designers on the Android docs. Yeah, that could also help your case. Very, 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 very good point. Yeah. But learn how to communicate your frustrations. Don't go there telling them you don't know how to do your work. They will also reply to you by saying, oh my God, another developer who does not know how to implement UI. So that's actually one of the things that you can do. So it's usually an interesting battle, designers and developers. I sit in between there, and sometimes I'm in meetings where I just feel like laughing when that is happening. So yeah, cool. Anyone else, any opinion, feedback?
I think I can add something to that.
Yes.
So I worked on a project where the client had come up with a design doc, a couple of things as part of the design, and the features it requested for didn't exist in Android. So I think being able to raise issues, like Frank had mentioned, being able to like piggyback and say, hey, maybe you can change part of this thing because it does not exist. In as much as in some scenarios the client really expects you to create it. Being able to raise the issue as a dev, knowing that that's not possible, should definitely count for it. So being able to talk. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, awesome. We have actually come to the end of our questions. The book I was telling you about is this one here, Deep Work by Cal Newport. It was actually mentioned there, and I was like, yeah, here it is there. So here it is, and thank you for Rama for mentioning. So here it is, and the specific thing we are talking about is in page 159, I guess. So yeah, on like how to take breaks and distractions, and like. But if you read the whole book, it's a very nice. I don't know where you can get, but like this one was bought for me, I think, from outside and to shipped here. But if you can get this, it's a very nice. I feel like I love this so much, and it's a very heavily opinionated thing. If you love social media and stuff, you might hate it. I'll tell you the truth. Yeah, and also talks about distraction and stuff. So just a heads up is if you hate social media, if you love social media, you'll love this. If you're thinking of how to get away from social media, you'll also love this. Advice that has been given on the chat section. I will translate it for the non-Swahili speakers. In Swahili, it says devs tupende vitabu. It's a very nice key way to live. It's like developers, please love books. Love books and love reading. I know so many people here are good readers. I know some of them here. Yeah, so maybe it would be a nice challenge for us to do that. So I have been your host together with Kendi, who has been practicing out and showing us the various features. Kendi, are you still there? I think she is still there. She's been trying out different What are they called? Yeah, there she is. She's been trying out different features, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know these things. This is what you get with openBar, by the way. We have different characters wearing different things, doing different things at openBar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm done on my part, Kendi. I guess now let me leave it to you to just like finish up with this one. So thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much to the speakers too. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Frank, for being a super host, and Harun also for being an amazing host as well. Thank you to our amazing speakers. I know we brutally came to you and you're like, yo, guys, you have to speak. And thank you so much, all of you, for honoring our invite and being amazing and giving us insight, teaching us stuff, and arguing at some point, teamwork though. All right, cool. So we have come to an end of our session, and we're looking forward to doing this again and having more fun together next month. All right. Oh, next month is December. Okay. We hope you'll come for our end of year party. Yeah, cool. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. I'll give this back to Frank and finish up the session. Bye, guys.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Kendi. So just as a heads up, DroidCon is actually happening in 2022. So we've already decided plans around it. Put out a call for guys to help out, and we've already gotten a team. But that's happening. You'll soon start to see us shipping out or saying like, hey, these are the apps that are going to be there on open source. Please jump in and start contributing. It would be good for you to say you also bought a ticket and came to DroidCon, and you're like, you know what, by the way, I built this feature. Yeah, and I hope guys will also give you feedback about it. So it's going to be very interesting. And now that we have Compose and anything, I feel like, if I'm not wrong, the whole thing will be like on Compose. There's also the Flutter side of it all. So we'll also write and build this code out in Flutter, and also in Kotlin too. So I hope you guys are going to be there and have fun as much as possible. So just plan towards it. It's months away. I'll tell you the truth, it's months away. It's so many months away. And the best advice I can give you is think about how you can start saving up for it. Because I mean, like by now we know how much it will cost. So since you know how much it will already cost, I can estimate, you putting in your, 1,000, 1,500 Kenya shillings is actually a good thing. And you can actually get this money if you start early. Let's not wait for the last minute and then you say like, no, this is not going to happen. We'll try and get as many amazing speakers as possible to come and be in attendance. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you soon.
Frank.
Yes, please.
Frank, someone was asking if they paid for last year, how are they going to go about it? So the thing is, if you had already paid to attend DroidCon this year, however, we weren't able to host it, you don't have to pay again for 2022. So we'll just carry forward what you'd paid before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The prices are there, 1,000, 1,500. We also have other VIP ones that you want to buy. If you want to buy for 10 people, you can start paying as early as now. Get in touch with us. We'll tell you how to pay it. There are some people who I know they're just like, why is it 1,000? You should charge this thing for like 10,000 shillings. No problem. Buy for 10 people. Buy for 10 people tickets to be in attendance. Start now. Instead of spending a lot of money in Christmas, invest in some junior developer. You have a long time now to like sort of like start building on it and helping them out. So we'll put it out there. So Theophilus is saying someone to buy for me. No, you should actually buy for 10 people.
No.
Not Theophilus, so you should actually buy for 10 people. Yeah, do not buy for him a ticket. He has funds. He's those people we say old money. Yeah. So bye guys. Thank you so much. This has been the longest meetup probably that we've ever had. And thank you so much to the speakers. You can find them there. You can find them on Twitter. I know that sometimes guys enter into these banters, and we'll put their links on the Android254 Twitter handle, which is this one here. We'll just post it there in a second. Yes, there it is. We will actually share it here on this handle here. We'll be sharing their links on that social there. So there it is. Yes, and you can ask them questions. I think with an exception of myself, the rest, everyone here is very active on Twitter, and they'll definitely reply to you. So bye, guys, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.